Hi everyone. I hope I'm live again. And just like every single time, I would expect if anyone of you can tell me if I'm visible and if I'm audible. Well, seems like okay. YouTube just gave me some issue. Thank you, Pranav. Anyone else? If anyone can just tell me like if I'm visible and if I'm audible, and we will start taking questions. I already see a few people have joined. Hi ideas. Hi no discussion, please. I love your name. Yashash. Can anyone else just tell me like if I'm visible and if I'm audible? Hi everyone. Hi Naveen. Yes. Okay, so I will start taking questions now. Once again, thank you very much everyone for turning up on a Monday evening. And I might have a lot of background noise today because I think there are some weddings in my surroundings, and all of these people are just crazy with the firecrackers and stuff. So I'm really sorry for all the background noise that you might have to encounter in next 1 hour that we will be interacting. But apart from that, yes. Uh, it was pretty it was a short notice, so sorry for that. And yes, anyone else looking blur? Someone is saying, okay, Aniket, I am looking blurred. I have maybe that might just be because of my network connection, so I'm hoping it will get better as we proceed with the live stream. Okay, anyone else? Like, if you want to start asking any questions, I will start taking them now. And for the next 1 hour, I'm sorry, I just came uh, live a little late today. It was supposed to be at 8, and I think I started it around 8:07. So we will be extending this to 9:15 p.m. And I hope I'll be able to take up every single question which is posted to me. And okay, so we have the first question from Mukesh. Which industry in India might have more number of startups in the next decade? Uh, so Mukesh, like talking about the startup ecosystem, a decade is like very long time. EdTech is something that is like really booming. Pretty much, it is just like how food tech, food delivery startups were in 2015 or 16 because everything was getting funded, they were getting traction. EdTech is right now the same because everyone is working from home, everyone is at home, like the students, the parents. And there are, right from education, right from K-12 education, which is like nursery to 12th standard of education. Apart from that, you also have technical education, you have skill development for people who are already working, you have like you there are so many startups which are helping these professionals to get a better job. So there are a lot of these edtech companies which are coming in now. We might not know like where these companies will be once the whole world returns to normal. So I think edtech, health tech is one thing that a lot of us are now getting aware, and how you can really use AI and machine learning in health technology. That is something which I'm really excited to see because there are a lot of these companies which are already working on that. But how we can really provide a better standard of life to humankind using technology, that is something that is going to be seen in the next 1 decade, and that is something which really keeps me uh, uh, excited for that. Business or entrepreneurship, Vastav, again depends on you. Like what kind of person you are, what do you really like doing in your life, what are the kind of things that you enjoy doing, and based on that, it's a very broad question. So maybe again, does a SaaS startup subscription charge their customer user differently based on their geographical location? Uh, Paul, yes. So it again depends, like the kind of subscription money that you can pay in India, and that is something that you can really see if you go to Google Cloud Pays, because Cloud also gives you storage options. So if you actually calculate the amount of money that Google is charging from their users in US, the amount of money they're charging from their users in UAE, the amount of money they're charging in India, you will actually see a comparison. And I think it's not Google Cloud, sorry, Apple iCloud. So Apple has that a pays on iCloud pricing, and you can actually find the pricing of every single country, and you will find like the kind of differences that they have. And based on that, because not every, like, I don't know how aware you are of economics, but there is something called PPP, purchasing power parity, which basically means that $1 might not really be equal to 75 rupees when you come to India to spend that. So purchasing power parity basically tells you like how much of your money is really worth, based on uh, how much of your money is worth in that country. So because again, like you will have to, I cannot really teach you that concept right now, but that is one thing that a lot of these companies really take into play, and that is something which a lot of these companies really consider before they start charging their customers in different countries. So is there any tax imposed? Yes, there is a tax imposed to every single country. Let's say if there is any other, Google is a US based company, but if they are selling their iCloud Google Cloud storage in India, if Apple is selling their iCloud storage in India, if Google is selling any of the software, any of the apps through the Google Play Store, they have to pay GST. So every single where your customer is based, where based on that geographical location, you will have to pay taxes. uh, what do you think of the future of space startups in India? Pranav, space startups, like we have already been talking about that, a lot of India is basically considered as the dark horse of space. So India already has a lot of startups and a lot of the, because space is something that you cannot really launch a product and you can just go out in the market. There are a lot of companies who keep on working for 2, 3, 5 or 10 years just to build a satellite or build a rocket or build anything, any sort of technology, and they might even be working. So a lot of space companies do not really come into the public domain, and that is one reason why we don't still know the kind of potential that India has, the kind of progress that India has already done in space ecosystem, space startup ecosystem. So future is certainly bright. Like India is one of those India is one of those most advanced countries in terms of space, and in terms of Mars missions. India is the only country which reached Mars in the first ever try. So India certainly has that big potential to succeed in the race of dominate the space, which is obviously like taking place right now, and which is we will see more of that in the coming decade. How is gaming industry shaping up in our countries? Gaming industry, again, you have like at least a couple of unicorns. You have uh, unicorns like MPL and Dream 11, if if you want to consider them as gaming. Najara Games is one company which is really doing great. There are a lot more different companies which are almost, if not they're billion-dollar startup, they're almost billion-dollar startup. A lot of companies are building amazing games. So as I said, like India is a country where you have internet access, is like a lot of people are able to access internet. Doesn't matter like what kind of speed you get, but for gaming you don't really need a lot of speed. So India is going to be, because of the kind of crowd that we have, because of the young crowd that we have, a lot of almost 50% of India's population is less than 20 or 25 years of age, and uh, that is the segment you really target if you are a gaming company. And so India is basically a very very big market, and based on that, considering the big market that these companies are building games for, they are really being fairly successful. Uh, Biotechnology a better option, Meldon? Biotechnology is certainly a better option. We just did a video on top 10 biotech startups in India. I think you should go check that out. Sorry, I think you should go check that out if you if you haven't checked that already. But a better option for the coming, like, what do you mean a better option? Are you planning to start up? Are you planning to join a startup? Are you like, what exactly is your reason to ask that? Talking of the space industry, how do you suggest searching for investors? uh, Again, like, I don't really have much of an experience, but uh, talking about space industry, like, what kind of services are you providing? Government actually has a lot of initiatives for these space startups, and I think just a few months ago, government of India basically they basically approved that the private companies from India, they can send their own rockets, they can send their own satellites into the space. So the government of India is now basically taking those kind of initiatives to support the space startups. So I think the best thing for you will be to just reach out to the government agencies which are looking at that, and I'm sure you will get some sort of, if not investment, at least some sort of support from them. And again, like, I don't really know what kind of space startup you have. Are you building a product? Are you building some sort of services? Are you looking to launch satellites? And based on that, maybe I might be able to give you a little bit more specific answer on that. OROP, anybody want to talk to me? OROP, I think you should head out to our Discord channel. That's where you can really talk to people, and you can just share your ideas. YouTube live chat might not really be the best option for that right now. Aryan, how much better is a small scale MVP than no MVP for gaming investment? I think this is something that I keep answering in every single live. MVP is certainly one thing that can really help you in your raising investment journey, because that shows your investor that how serious you are, and that also shows like the kind of standard of proof that where exactly your research is going and where exactly your product development is going. And it also like it sort of puts some sort of faith in you from the investor. So if you really have those sort of resources, if you really think that you can build a prototype or an MVP before going to the investors, for sure, go ahead with that. And yes, you will strengthen your chances of getting the investment from that investor. Uh, do agriculture have scope for startup in further 10 years? Well, again, today for sure, agriculture has a lot of scope for startups. I don't know how 10 years are going to be. You was asking like after 10 years. If you're talking about the coming 10 years, then for sure there are going to be startups which are working in the startup space. So uh, yeah, for sure, agriculture has a lot of scope, but again, depends on the kind of technology adaptation that we will see in those 10 years. See, Dinesh, like the weekly funded session, Don't Stop the series, we will for sure not stop that. This is something that we have been doing for almost like 45 weeks now, and that is almost a year. So, certainly, like, we have tried our level best to be on that commitment to actually share that weekly episode every Saturday. This time it was on a Sunday because of like we were working on 3 videos. But apart from that, that is certainly the plan, and for sure we won't stop that. P. Lakshmi Narayan, I think we can see more of a commerce transportation than state transport in future. Am I right? Uh, if you mean private transportation with that, commerce transportation mean, then for sure a lot of state governments are already working in that direction. They're already outsourcing their state transportation system to the private players, because again, there is talking about the efficiency, the government systems in India are not so efficient, and that is one of the reasons. Like, I come from Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, the state transport buses have been, the government has started to replace them. I mean, they have not completely replaced that, but I think 40 to 50% of the state transport buses have been now replaced with the there is something called Rajasthan Lok Seva Parivahan something. I don't know how many of people are from Rajasthan and they'll know that, but Rajasthan government has already started working on that. That they are not buying any new buses, and they are looking to increase the stake of the private transportation in the state. Do Ritesh Agrawal Oyo will make profits again? Vivek, it certainly depends on the kind of strategies that they take. Like, I cannot really predict. I'm not a startup astrologer. So if they do good, if they really listen to their if they listen to their customers and their partners, for sure they'll make profits again. But again, like, I'm not a startup astrologer to give you uh, that sort of predictions. Yashash, does getting known in social media help getting investment easily? For sure. Like, again, it depends, like what kind of recognition are you talking on social media. If you are uh, I can't really give you an example of that, but for sure, like, community building is something that really helps, because once you are active on social media, if you're really sharing like good sort of content, if you're sharing something which is like valuable to people, for sure, like, investors will notice you, investors will start talking about you. And it does help. Like, I won't really say it helps you get investment easily, but for sure it will help you get connections easily. It will help you get like recommendations easily. You can reach out to investors more easily. Talking about the investment, it certainly depends on the kind of idea that you're working on. Is Geo a startup? For sure, Geo is not a startup. Geo was started with an investment of more than $3 billion, 20,000 crore rupees, and certainly I won't really call Geo a startup. But again, like, everyone has different definitions of their own startups, and for sure, Geo had a backing of the mighty RIL, Reliance Industries Limited. So I won't really call it a startup for sure. Albin, what about including more international content in your channel? So, Elvin, I don't know if you have, if you how closely you follow us, but we are a very small team right now, and we are looking to expand. But talking about that expansion, because the moment we started, right from that day until now, we are actually building content for the Indian people. So right now, we are actually, that is our focus. But for sure, we are looking to venture out in that. But till that, I think, we still have to do a lot more for the Indian audience, the people who have given us so much love. But in the coming days, you will certainly see a lot more experiments. You will certainly see a lot more things that we will be working on. So please wait and watch, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed by the kind of ideas that we are working on and the kind of initiatives that we'll be bringing onto this channel. uh, Ram, is there any startup which is focused on doorstep document delivery and collection from home for public office matters? Uh, for public office matters, if you are looking at, maybe Delhi government has something. Delhi government uh, does the doorstep delivery and verification of that. Apart from that, there are a lot of these startups. I think Dunjo is one of them. They collect and they deliver. There are a lot of other startups which might not be as big as Dunjo, but they are still working and they are still doing pretty good. But specifically for public office matters, I'm not really aware of anything. Like if the Delhi government's initiative, and I think a couple more state governments have started to implement that. There a couple of other state governments have started to give their own residents that service. But apart from that, I don't really see any startup which is working exclusively in the public office matters. How's the future for cloud gaming? Cloud gaming is the future. Like obviously, uh, the COVID lockdowns that we have had, it has certainly made us believe that we cannot really be with each other, and if we actually can be at our home, and with that we can enjoy these sort of cloud gaming as well as cloud listening. I think Spotify is doing the same thing. One of the biggest ads that Spotify has in India is the same thing. Like you can listen to the same beats with your friends at the same time. So that is sort of a cloud music streaming. You are talking about the same thing, so it certainly has, like, you don't have to be with your friends wherever you are in the world. You can certainly play with them, if that is what you are talking about, the cloud gaming. If by cloud gaming you mean that companies hosting their like you simply just accessing a website and playing a game, that is also very very bright, because again, gaming is something that in every single form it is evolving. A few years ago people were saying that PS4 and PS4, that like we had PS4 that time. PS4 wasn't really going to survive, after all this cloud gaming, but PS4, PS5 is still going strong. People were saying about the Xbox 360 that it won't survive once you have, these amazing games. With a lot of games are not being launched on the Xbox. So, like the thing about gaming is that the market is so big, the options are so like whatever you start in, I'm pretty sure you are going to get pretty successful in that. What kind of business is reliable to start up? I'm not really sure. Like, what do you mean, chugglets? Oh, chugglets. Uh, which kind of business is reliable to start up? Again, it depends on, like I keep telling again and again, it really depends on the kind of uh, skills you have. It really depends on the kind of passion you have. And again, like very, very broad question. I can't even think of answering that. OROP, how to implement idea? Again, very broad. I'm not taking it. Others, what is the hidden secret of entrepreneurship? Negative side. Yeah. So negative side is one thing, like uh, usually you are taking decisions at a much faster pace. At a lot of times, there is no one to validate your ideas. There is no one to tell you that if something will work or not. There is like a lot of people, lot of entrepreneurs, they don't have access to great mentorship from day one. They don't have access to great people who can basically hold their hand, and they can guide them. So that is one thing. Like a lot of times entrepreneurship, it does make you feel lonely. Apart from that, I don't really see like there is any other negatives. I mean, there could be a lot of negative sides, but again, it depends on you. Like, what do you consider negative and what do you consider as a challenge? And you think that, okay, this might be a negative thing today, but tomorrow it will just be a new experience, and I will learn something from this, and I'll do better in my startup or in my life. So again, it really depends on the kind of perspective that you have, the kind of belief that you have with your startup. And nothing really seems negative. Like after a bit of time, you look at those experiences which you had when you were just starting up, and you feel that, okay, this was something which amazingly which happened with me. And these kind of things, like again, as I said, these just become experience, and you won't really remember those negative sides after a while, once your startup picks up and you start getting a little bit of revenue, or investment, or whatever your end goal is. Vastav, there are two natural alternatives to plastic, hemp and fungus. What do you think? Are people still not aware of it? Vastav, people are aware of like, obviously, there are so many scientists who are working on this, there are so many governments working on this. The thing is, building something alternative to plastic has been so successful because it is the cheapest way, it is very reliable, it is very durable. So these are the reasons why plastic has actually had the reputation that it is having today. Apart from that, all the both the alternatives that you spoke about, they basically are what do I say? They are very very they are not cost effective, and a lot of people who are using plastic, a lot of people, like, these things cannot be mass produced, and they cannot give you a the kind of durability as well as the kind of reliability or the kind of affordability like the plastic that we have in our current form. So that is one of the biggest reasons why the governments haven't, because governments are well aware of the increasing pollution levels. Governments are very well aware of the kind of bad impacts of plastic on the environment as well as on the health of humankind. But again, like, there are reasons like this, that plastic is one of the, why do you think we have not done away with the polythene bags in India? Because that is the cheapest option. Like, even if you go to any shopkeeper, they will tell you that the kind of the kind of money they spend in getting that those envelopes, those paper envelopes, is like 5 or 10 times extra than the money that they have to spend in getting these polythene bags. So that is like, the affordability is one thing, and certainly like half the world is still looking at that most affordable way to live their life. Like, almost, I think, 20% of the world is still living below the poverty line. You cannot really think about a lot of these things. So, talk about future of gaming company. Engineer Guruji, I've already spoken about it. Yashash, how does an investor work? Like, they charge interest for money when we return the money or something? No. They, so again, there are different kinds of investors. There are investors who will charge equity. They will say that, okay, your company is doing this. Your company is valued at $1 million. I'll give you, $100,000 for 10% of equity. And after 5 years, if your company reaches to $5 million of net valuation, then he will get 5x of his return. That is like $500,000. So apart from that, you also have a lot of these investors who are giving you money on as a debt. So that way they will charge interest. Apart from that, they also, there is a sort of uh, investment using convertible notes. So there are different kinds of investments, and depending on the investment, you have to pay back to your investor. Teja, connecting farmers and consumers by a company. There are so many agri-tech companies. If you are, you should go and check out our agri-tech videos, like the list of top 10 agri-tech videos in agri-tech startups in India. And I'm pretty sure you will get your idea, you will get your answer, Teja. Adarsh, what is the hidden secret of entrepreneurship? I already answered that. Does location matter while grabbing investment? Aryan, no, it does not matter. The only thing matters is like how good of your product is and how have you reached out to your your customers, and how efficient you are in reaching out to your like, what is the current state of your startup. That's it. Location does not matter. There are so many companies which are in smaller cities. There are a lot of companies which are completely remote and they have raised investments and they have done amazing. Uh, why are people giving me topics for essays? Like, I'm not here to write essays on these. Please ask some uh, uh, valuable questions which are, please respect time of everyone who is watching this live right now, or people who will be watching these live after it goes onto the channel. Back, hi Satvik, we have sent you a collaboration request but did not hear from you. Satvik, uh, I have no clue what collaboration request are you talking about, but if it is sent on the email, you will get a reply soon. Considering the increase of ARM support by Apple and Windows, do you think cheaper ARM-based computing will start processing with mobile phones? Will compete with the mobile phones? VSY, I'm not really, like, I haven't really been that aware about what exactly ARM is, and what kind of. I have seen some sort of reviews of the Apple MacBook, which is running on the ARM processor. So I think one thing is certain. Like, we are looking at more efficient ways of technology. We are looking at more efficient ways of, or more faster ways of that. So for sure, we will see the implementation in mobile phones as well as the computers. But specifically talking about the technical aspects of it right now, I'm not completely aware about it. So I will sort of refrain from commenting on that. And to register a space-based company, do we need to register as a startup first or as a company first? If we have to register it as a company first, how do we have to register? Yashash, so there is nothing like you have to register as a startup. A startup is also registered as a company. Like, what is the structure of a company? It is an LLP, it is a uh, one-man company, or it is a private limited company. That again, depends on the kind of operations that you will be doing in that. So you talking about like register as a startup, but if you're talking about the government of India, startup India registration, even for that you need to have a company registered. So I think that sort of answers, there might be a slight confusion there, but to register a startup you need to actually have an entity which is usually known as a company. So I hope that answers your question. Arnab, I feel that more tech startups in agriculture sector is the need of our For sure, like there are a lot of these agri-tech startups, but again, India being 60% of India's workforce is still in the agriculture sector. A lot of this, agricultural sector is still unorganized. So that is, we do have, we do have a lot of scope. And just like how edtech is, booming right now, how edtech is getting a lot of interest, a lot of investment. I think agri-tech is the next, and in a couple of years, we should see a lot of agri-tech startups coming, and uh, raising investments and becoming big. Please make videos in Hindi. We are certainly considering that request, Ishant. Is YouTube going towards saturation? For sure, no. At least not in the next couple of years. After that, you never know. What kind of startup is best during COVID? Chuglets. Again, very, very broad. Not MPL. Can PC games making company can become unicorn? For sure, like uh, Nazara Games is, I think, no. There are a couple of companies. I think you should. I don't know if we have done. If we are looking to make a video on top gaming startups, in India, and I think you will see some of those companies which are already unicorns, and they are working in India. They were started in India. They are completely based in India, and they are doing amazing in that. Ishant, until please, I am able to see your comment even if you write once or even if you write 8 times. So please, as I said, like please refrain from doing these things in the comment section. And why didn't you make videos on successful stories of companies or corporations? So, Sheshar Shesharatnam. Okay. Shesharatnam, actually, the thing is, I think we have said a lot of times, we have had very, very limited resources. We have had very, very limited bandwidth. And I'm really sorry about the background noise that you are seeing. But I'm actually in. We have actually made a couple of case studies. We did make a case study on Flipkart. We did make a case study on sort of like, it wasn't really a case study on why Tesla is not in India. So these videos are really getting amazing response from you guys. But the thing is, like, we are a very, very limited team. We are a very small team. We are, not a very big media house. And it is very limited, like the kind of output that we can do, the kind of number of videos that we can do. And as, like, we already do a couple of videos every week, and apart from that, we are already working on a lot more videos, which you will see in the coming weeks. But also about the success stories, you will see a lot of success stories in the coming days. Glad to see the growth of your YouTube channel. I still would say it is underrated. Thank you very much, Deepak. It's just because of people like you who have been with us for a long period of time. Even when we had just 1 or 2 thousand subscribers, and they have been motivating us. They have been commenting on our videos. Liking and sharing those videos. So yeah, this was just a matter of time that we would explode. I mean, I want to still use the word explode, but we have certainly seen amazing growth in the last 2 months. But the growth should not stop. We are still working on different ideas every single day. We are still working on different videos every single day. And you will see a lot more videos, a lot more amazing content in on this channel. And please keep your support. Is there any startup which is focused on I think I've already answered that, Ram. At age 16, can we start up? For sure, you can start up. How do you contact business person so that they respond without spamming them? Okay, that's an amazing Surya Pratap. So Surya Pratap, how do you contact business person? Like, again, depends on why should they reply back to you? Why should they respond? Like, do you have something which is valuable to them? Do you have some sort of service? If you are just simply just sending email to someone saying hi, hello, or some sort of message, some sort of email which you send to 100 other people or 1,000 other people, they won't respond to you. Whenever you're sending an email, make it personalized. Make that person feel that you have researched about them. If you are looking to for some sort of collaboration or something, make that person realize that, okay, you have done some sort of research, you already know about them, and this is something why you are reaching out to them. So a lot of times, what we really do is we simply reach out to someone without a specific thing in the email, or in the Facebook or LinkedIn message, whatever, however you're reaching out to them. So be very, very clear about it, how they can be helpful to you and how you can be helpful to them in return. What are you seeking? What are your demands? And everything, like, just be very, very clear, and always add a personalized angle. And you will, like, the chances of getting those reply back from those people will increase a lot. What is your view on farmers against new farm bill? What are the pros and cons with new agri-tech startups, like the benefits with this bill? So Naveen, for sure, like a lot of I don't know, like talking about it might be politics, but one thing is certain, like no one is telling you the truth. The government, what the farmers are protesting, they are not completely 100% right. There is a political angle there. What the government is saying, there is no 100% truth in that. So there is like uh, everyone's version has a little bit of truth. Talking about what the new agri-tech startups can have benefit, for sure. So like a lot of agri-tech startups have already been benefited by the kind of farm bills they have brought, because a lot of these states had already implemented uh, the kind of things which were introduced in these farm bills. So, but apart from that, uh, agri-tech startups, and one thing which a lot of farmers face, one the biggest problem they face is like how do they really reach out to customers? How do they really sell their produce? Eliminating the middleman, and how they can really reach out to customers. So I come from a farming family, and if I give you an example, like the wheat that we grow is basically around 15 to 16 rupees kg when it is sold in the mandis. And the moment, by the time it reaches to people in, let's say, Bangalore or a big city, the atta of wheat basically becomes to at least 28 to 30 rupees kg. So that 15 rupees kg, if a farmer can directly reach out to these people, if a farmer can even give, like, let's say 20 rupees per kg for that wheat, the farmer will get benefited by, the farmer will get benefited, the customer will get benefited, and the middleman will be eliminated in that. So those are the things which these startup agri-tech startups can do, and a lot of agri-tech startups are already doing. They're directly connecting farmers from the consumers, just taking a small cut. So that actually means farmers are getting better value for their produce. Farmers are getting better value for their products. Customers are getting fresh stuff at a much cheaper price. And also the agri-tech startups are getting, because you never know, like from the field of a farmer till the time it reaches to your house, there are at least 5 to 10, 7 to 10 people who are involved. Every single of that person basically takes a commission. So that is one thing which can, which is really becoming better with adoption of technology, with adoption of. So I know a lot of farmers these days which basically already have contacts with these people who would want, any sort of produce. They can directly sell their vegetables, they can directly sell their grains, they can directly sell their pulses. So that is one thing which technology is really bringing. And using technology, these agri-tech startups are really getting benefited, and they are benefiting farmers as well as customers. uh, I want to build a social media app. Can you give me any suggestion, Abhiram? Like, what sort of suggestion you want? I can only wish you luck as of now. With the kind of details that you have provided. Please be a little bit more specific. Like, what sort of suggestion you really want in that? I'm 15 now. I just want a casual talk with BwM. How did you build your team? So no discussions, please. I think you should go and watch our journey video, how we built, how we met, and how Backstage with Millennials basically came into existence. And even after that, if you have any questions, please feel free to write in the comment section of that particular video, and uh, I'll make sure to reply to that on that video. What will be your idea for a new startup planning person? Again, very very broad. Can YouTube channel be a startup? Akash, it can certainly be a startup, and uh, I think the Viral Fever was started as a YouTube channel. Uh, uh, there are a lot of I can't really the Viral Fever, and there is one more just with the Viral Fever. There were like at least a few. All India Bakchod, it was also started as a YouTube channel. So, and they're not even startup; they are full-fledged media production companies as of today. So you can certainly start a YouTube channel. It only depends, the kind of perspective you have, the kind of vision that you have, the kind of journey that the kind of thing that you're looking for your future. And for sure, if things go fine for you, and it can be a startup, it can be a full-fledged media production company, just like the Viral Fever. And I think the Viral Fever have also raised funding from institutional investors like Tiger Global, if I'm not wrong, Tiger Global, or there is some big investment company which has invested in the Viral Fever. And go check that story, go check that out, and I'm pretty sure that will answer your question. Talking about the space industry by manufacturing and launch rockets, Yashash, if you are looking to do that, for sure you will. The government is the best partner as well as investor for you. Mohan Raj, what will be your idea for a new startup planning person? You're again spamming. Best websites and methods to keep track of all startup news. Likit, Google News is one thing, which is like an aggregator of the all the news items. You can subscribe to some of those trends, and you will uh, basically Google keeps sending you those trends into your email. You can also go to news.google.com for sure. If you are looking for something crisp and something short, you can every Saturday you can watch a video on the startup news, startup ecosystem news. And apart from that, there are websites like NC42, Your Story, and if you're talking about the Indian startup ecosystem, if you're talking about the global startup ecosystem, TechCrunch is one thing. You also have e27.co, and you have a lot of these websites. Again, like a lot of these websites write the same sort of stories. So maybe do a little bit of research, make a list of 2 to 3 websites that you think you can follow on a regular basis, and that should be enough for you. Do you think starting up a university can be a viable idea? I am sure it is. It can be a viable idea if you have like hundreds of crores to spend on Jairam, and for sure, like again, don't try to be in the rat race. If you really think you can add some sort of value, if you really think you can provide something different than what the other universities are doing, for sure, it's an amazing viable idea, and there are a lot of universities in India who have been like who was just started in last 5, 10, or 20 years, and they are already doing amazing. They already have built a name for themselves, and yes, good luck with that if you're really looking to build a university. Discord is a Chinese company. It may be a security threat. Well, I don't know what to say about it right now, but we'll certainly look at that. Shesh Ratnam, thank you for pointing that out. Pranav, will Backstage with Millennials get to 100,000 subscribers before 2020 is over? Well, we just need support from people like you. Please share our channel. Please share our videos to all the people that you have in your group, your friends and family members who you think will find our content useful. And for sure, like if subscribers help us, we can certainly reach 200,000 before 2020 is over. A lot of entrepreneurs give up or fail for other reason. Why? Well, just because entrepreneurship is something that that is not a uh, what do you say, rat race, because in entrepreneurship you don't have anything stable. You have new challenges every day, and a lot of people cannot really face those challenges. A lot of people do realize that whatever they're doing, either it is not worth it, either it is not viable, or they're not targeting the right market. There can be a lot of reasons. It is not always like your idea is not working. A lot of times you might just be early for your market. A lot of times you might be late for your market. A lot of times you might just be building something which the customers don't even need. So there can be a lot of these reasons, and that's one reason why a lot of people fail. But again, it is just a process of life that the more you fail, the more you learn, and the better you build. I think you should build a WhatsApp community, Shesh Ratnam. On a WhatsApp community, on a WhatsApp group, we can only have 256 people if WhatsApp has not changed the limit. I think the last time I knew, WhatsApp only had a limit of 256 people in a group, and I'm sure we have more loyal followers than 256, and we won't really be able to have just one WhatsApp group. Why is there no product-based software companies in India? Healer, there are a lot of like, please don't have a generalized perspective about India and the startup ecosystem, or actually anything in your life. So India does have a lot of product based startup companies, and you should really go check that out. And I won't really name any of those companies because again I really want this to be a task for you. Please go and check that out, and you will find at least 100 if not thousands of product companies from India. Is edtech saturated? For sure, right now, no, but it might be saturated if the kind of deal flow that we are seeing keeps happening for next 1 year or so. But apart from that, edtech is not nowhere saturated, because there are still not less than 50% of the students of India who have been exposed to the edtech startups that we have in this country. Why Indians trust foreigners more? Well, this is something maybe Shubham Caleb can answer. But again, I don't really have any specific answer to that. Maybe uh, I might just come back with an answer in my live uh, chat. Abhiram, I have a social media app. One second. I have a social media app idea. What are your suggestions? I'm somewhat feared because of Facebook, which copies everything. Can you please help me without any suggestion? So, Abhiram, one thing that I think my mentor kept telling me, Ashish Tulsian, and I'm going live with him this Friday at 8 o'clock. And anyone, any of you who want to ask him anything, please tune in on Friday at 8 p.m. I'll be taking the questions from you guys and I'll be putting these questions to him. And he keeps telling me this thing that, before you actually be jealous or before you actually think that, Facebook will copy you, be happy the day Facebook even considers you, because Facebook is a giant. Facebook is a almost $1 trillion company. For them, for you to even be considered by Facebook, you have to be at least $100 million company. You have to be a very very big company. So don't really think of something which you think will be copied just by Facebook in a day. Start building your thing. There have been a lot of companies. I don't really one recent example that I keep giving to a lot of people is Zoom was started by a person who was working in IBM. He had basically pitched the same idea to these IBM core team, but they thought a cloud video calling company won't really be a thing for the future. But now Zoom is a bigger company than IBM combined. So never really fear that something can be copied, because they can copy your idea, they cannot copy your passion and the kind of execution skills that you have. So don't worry about that. Start building your product, and I really wish you best of luck for that. Is there any new startup in tourism, and according to you, that is the best time to start tourism startup? For sure. Uh, Others, right now there is like, apart from that, I'm sure there are a lot of people. I know a person. So I was staying in Manali for many months in this year, and I knew a person who came to Manali, got stuck in the lockdown, and then he basically started a business. He started renting these hotels, and he started providing good internet, Wi-Fi, and good quality food. And he started charging people that you can come to Manali and you can stay, you can work from home, and you will get everything that you need. Because once you are in the mountains, you don't get proper internet. You don't really sorry, you don't really know, when you are in the mountains, you don't get proper internet, you don't get proper electricity, and you don't get proper food, because you always have to go out. So this guy really started working on that idea, and currently I think he has more than 100 hotels signed up with him. And this all of this has happened in just like last 3 to 4 months or 5 months. And he's already building an amazing company out of that. So it only depends on the kind of things that you can tap. A lot of people who are just opportunist, people who are just looking to tap onto some idea, they are looking to tap onto something. For them, there is never a recession. But again, like, if you're looking for a proper traditional tourism startup, then I think right now is not the correct time, because people are still not confident. People are still not confident in traveling, and people are still not confident in getting out of their house and getting potentially getting exposed to COVID. So again, I'm not really sure what your idea is. If you really think you can provide some sort of personalized tourism, if you think you can really provide some sort of services to these people who can afford to pay more, and they need as exclusive kind of experience, you certainly have potential to do be successful in that. A lot of deleted messages and a lot of repeated messages. How the valuation of a bootstrapped company is decided, Deepak? The bootstrapped companies basically decide their valuations by the kind of revenue they have, and they, depending on the kind of customers that they have, the kind of retention rate they have, they can multiply their revenue by a specific number that gives them the valuation. And in terms of Zerodha, I think that was because Zerodha has been a profitable company right from day one, and they have been investing in a lot of companies. Their balance sheet is very very strong, and depending on that, there are a lot of these how to calculate valuation. I did a video in the Startup 101 series. You can simply just go back to our channel, check that Startup 101 playlist, and I'm pretty sure you will get that video about how to calculate valuation of a startup. uh, how to start a business without any concrete ideas? You cannot start a business without any concrete ideas, Park. Sorry to be blunt, but uh, thank you very much, Parvez. We love getting compliments like this. As an investor, which startups are good to invest in? Again, which startups are good to invest in? Which one do you think, like, again, it depends on which are the sectors that you really understand. If you are a doctor, like, if you are a doctor who has knowledge of the medical field, you cannot simply go and invest in deep tech startups because you will not understand anything. You are a business person, you cannot really go and invest in something which is a very hardcore health tech startup. So more than which startups are booming, which startup sectors are booming, and which startup sectors are trending, it really depends on what startup sectors do you think you understand, and which are the, because investment is not only about giving money to someone, it is also about adding value. A lot of startups, a lot of investors don't realize that, but apart, like, if any investor can provide some sort of value to that startup, there is nothing like that. And that can only happen when you actually understand the startup sector that you are trying to invest in. Tigmanshu, why Tesla don't invest in Indian market? We did make a video on that. Try to get an interview with Elon Musk. Maybe you can just go on Twitter and pitch for us, Pranav. And if he agrees, for sure, Caleb will love to do that video. Caleb will love to do that interview. Employment in India, bro. I have a social media. You have again repeated that. You can certainly do a startup while you are still in college, Tarun. A lot of colleges, a lot of universities basically have their own entrepreneurship cell. They have their e-cell, and that helps, like, whatever limited capacity that your college or university can help you in, but they can certainly help you. They can at least motivate you or encourage you, even if they cannot help you financially or with any other resources. Uh, Okay, a lot of questions have just been very, very vague, and I really want to reach to a point very soon where we only have very on the point questions. How to follow any book or course to build a startup, Ketan? I have said that so many times. Like, we are not the bookworms. Any everyone who are working on Baxter's Millennials, we are not really people who read a lot of books or who do a lot of research on this. So I won't really be the best person to guide you on that. But for sure, we are trying to get someone answer all these questions for you. Um, Ujjwal, can I start multiple startups under one registered company? You can certainly start a lot of startups, but the only thing you have to make sure is keep the financials very, very proper. Keep the balance sheets. I mean, like, I'm sure you understand that. Keep your financials proper. Which company is generating how much of revenue, which startup is, like, being invested, like which startup you're investing more and more money on. There is, till the time you have proper record of every single financial transaction which are happening in those businesses, there is nothing which can stop you from starting like multiple startups under one company name. And thank you very much for your kind words. Rishikesh, how YouTube supports Indian YouTubers? uh, Well, first of all, you have to support yourself, and if you're really creating quality content, if you think people are finding value out of that, I think after a little bit of time, YouTube starts to recommend you to people who are watching. We were just I think just a few days ago we were YouTube's creator on the rise, and that gave us almost 5,000 subscribers, and then almost gave us I think 300,000 views. So, but that was like we basically could reach at that point after almost 2 years of making videos, after almost 2 years of hard work. So you before you expect YouTube to help yourself, you will have to help yourself. Rohit, yes, we actually started doing that, and that's something that we were planning to do. We were planning to keep, one live stream specific to one particular broad theme that you are suggesting. But again, a lot of times, because so that is one reason why we actually started having these. We did one live with Rishikesh Tatar of Vakil Search, and that's when we only spoke about the legal aspects. I'm also having one more guest this Friday, and that again, we'll be talking about the startups in the growth stage, as well as how do you really, the basic things about the investment, like what do investors really look in investment. So apart from that, whenever I'm having an investor, there'll be a very broad theme, but whenever I'm not having an entrepreneur on the live Q&A, I think those days I will still be keeping it broad so that I can interact with more and more people, like you. And yeah, this community angle can be kept alive. Small kid, I'm planning about starting a financial services startup. Like if you need financial advice, you can book the timing. If the service will be delivered online, is this a good idea? Amazing idea. I think this kind of idea, I'm not really sure if someone is doing it or not, but again, depends on what is your expertise, what is the expertise of people who will be giving those financial advices. But this, I think, is an amazing idea. A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of I don't know, I won't say celebrities, but a lot of learned people, a lot of people have been speaking about the importance of teaching personal finance to kids and people who are in school or even in early colleges. So I think this is an amazing idea, and uh, that's all I can say right now. Is electric vehicle cost more than 10 lakh in good business? Aman, I have no clue what your answer means. Rishikesh, the market is for coffee farmers being second producer of coffee. How is the market for coffee farmers? Not, I have no clue on that. I'm sorry. What thoughts do you have on the Dukan SaaS startup and the small same idea that Khata Book copied? What can we do to protect our idea? And Neeraj, this is something like I was just discussing with Caleb yesterday, and again, now that these two companies have reached to a settlement out of the court, I don't really think we should be talking about it. I think those companies are at peace with whatever conflict or whatever issue that they had with each other. But right now, I think they have just completed. They have just finished that episode for good, and what can we do to protect our idea and no one uses the same idea? You can get copyrighted, you can get it trademark registered, you can protect your intellectual property, and uh, there are a lot of legal terms, there are a lot of legal procedures for that. But if you really think your idea or your prototype or your ip is so important, you should get it protected when you begin with it. Can we receive funding at ideation stage? You can certainly receive funding at ideation stage. The only thing is, like, it talking about funding, it is not really a rocket science. The only thing which depends is how you can convince your investor, whoever you're reaching out to. And if you really think you can convince that investor with the kind of vision that you have, the kind of progress that you have made, there is no one who can stop you at getting funding at the idea stage. Mohan, is there any startup turning waste plastic to useful items? There are a lot of startups. I cannot really recall, but the Better India is a website which really covers things like this. Uh, I'm sure, like, again, I don't know which city you are based in, but a lot of these, there are a lot of startups which are turning waste plastic to useful items. Nitai, we are five friends working on a new concept. Registration process is going on at this starting days. Uh, sorry. Um in which areas we can divide our work? Again, I have no clue what you're working on. I have no clue what the kind of responsibilities and what the kind of talent that you have. What are the skills that five of your co-founders have? So uh, again, very very broad. I will need a little bit, at least a little bit more detail before giving you any sort of advice in that. Ankit, I am from Ajmer in Rajasthan, and please try not to have these personal questions. I have startup idea, but struggling in execution. Your guidance. What startup idea are you talking about, and how are you? Please give me a little bit more detail. Even if it is, the question is long. Even if it is like I will read it and I will try to provide you answer for that. But again, to answer anything, I need to have a little bit more detail about uh, uh, little bit more detail about what you are. Be Pro, what are the books behind you? Well, I am actually staying at an Airbnb, and this is a room which is just given to me by my Airbnb host. So I have no clue what these books are. I did not even care to look at these books. So what if old companies copy ideas and feature of a new startup? Satyam, they cannot copy your execution skills, they cannot copy your passion. And traditional companies, old companies, they basically don't have the kind of culture like a startup. So again, instead of being feared, instead of getting scared from those companies, please keep working on your idea, and I'm pretty sure you will not have to think about these things again. Why is everyone like, how is this in India, how is this, please give me. I have some edtech idea and I'm searching on it. Still a good time. It is still a good time. It is certainly still a good time to start in edtech. Um, Rahul. Abhishek, taking a startup loan or raising investment is a better idea. Again, like I think I did answer that in very, very detail in the last live stream. If you are in something, if you are in a service related startup, if you think you are generating revenues, or if you think you can, the only difference between raising funds through debt, raising funds as a loan, and raising funds through equity from institutional investors is that you don't have to worry about returning the loan in the equity investment from day one, or in the 6 months, or in 1 year. Sorry. So whenever you are raising loan, whenever you are taking loan to actually fund your company, the thing is you have to start paying EMIs in 6 months, or in a year, in 2 years, or maybe starting immediately. And that is one thing which a lot of us like. If you really think you have a stable stream of income, if you think you have stable revenue, and you think you can pay those EMIs, then for sure go, because go for a loan, because once you pay that loan, you still have 100% equity in your company. But if you think that you are not going to make any revenue for a year, or for 2 years, or for 5 years, in that case it really makes sense for you to go with the equity investment, because that sort of extra burden on your head, you do not have that in talking about the equity. Because whenever you start making money, even if it is a year, or if it is 2 years, if it is 5 years, you can always provide an exit to your investor. But it is not the same case in case of banks. You will have to start paying them back from the time that you have decided while you were taking loan. Can you tell me more about your internship program? Like, what exactly is the work, and how much time do? Okay, so Pranav, internship program right now, I think we are hiring for two roles. We are hiring one for video editing. Like, we have started expanding our team a couple of months ago, and we already have at least three interns who are working with us, who are doing videos. But we are also uh, like in content. If you can research a little bit, if you can write proper content, if you can write these descriptions and the script of the videos that we are making, so you have to be good either in content writing. You have to be really, really good with your grammar, or else you have to be really good with your editing skills. So these two are the areas that we are hiring people right now in. We might even need someone in social media. So if any of these things that you think you are good at, feel free to reach out to us at backstagewithmillennials@gmail.com, and we will reach out to you, and we can simply talk about like how we can work together. Aryan, is data of one round of successful small scale MVP is enough to show the investors one round of successful small scale MVP? What do you mean by that? Or do we have to conduct more rounds even if we are running short in resources? So that's what, like, whenever you're talking about MVP, whenever you're talking about prototype, the only thing which matters is how much resources you have, how much of money you have, how much of human capital you have. And if you think that you are running short on that, it will always be wise to reach out to those investors. If you already have been talking to some investors, if you're not talking to some investors, it's always a good thing to reach out to them when you start working, and keep them keep them updated with your progress. Keep telling them, okay, this is our first prototype, this is the kind of results that we have received, we have gathered through these. And uh, yeah, just keep them posted, keep them updated, and just reach out to them, tell them your situation, how your situation is, and you need some sort of funds immediately. And I really hope that your investors understand and give you those funds. Sir, can a startup company can be popular without advertisements? Uh, Asterix Cameron. Certainly, a company can be popular without advertisements. It also depends on, maybe, how do you really get your first few customers, and how do you really serve your first few customers. Because if you can really work on that stuff, there are, like, I think in the last live stream I gave you an example of Xiaomi, the MI brand that is in India. They did not spend a single money on advertising, only because of the kind of reviews that they were getting on their phones in China, and also the kind of hype that they were able to build because of the contest, a lot of things that they were doing on social media. They did not spend a single penny on advertisement in the first couple of years, and they eventually became, I think, a few quarters, they have also been India's number one smartphone brand. It keeps, like, there is a constant fight between them and Samsung. But again, this is a very big company, and it has been in India for less than 6 years now, or maybe just around 6 years, and they are already doing amazing. Yes. Ashwin, if you're talking about me, this is not my first startup. I have already been involved in a few startups before this, and you can just simply go and watch our journey video that we have on our channel. When we reached 10,000 subscribers, we did that video, and you will know more about me, about the team, as well as about Backstage with Millennials, like how it came into existence. Anna Nisha, I'm a graduate girl. How should I start a startup? Again, very broad. Like you can just start a startup just like anyone else is starting. Make sure like you are very clear on what you're doing, what kind of problem you're solving, what are people getting from you. You know that they should maybe uh, buy your service or buy your product, and that's it. Like it is again very broad. Maybe Google can give you a better answer than me right now on this. Dhanraj, please make video on Baiju's story of success for sure. Like it is our plan, but how and when that happens, it will take a while because we are already working on some more great videos already, and I think we are pretty occupied right now. But uh, like Baiju's is one thing, one story which a lot of people can really get benefited and they can really get motivated. How a teacher built the most valuable startup, edtech startup in the world. So maybe you should see a video on that pretty quick, pretty soon on our channel. Your views on Whited Junior, Dhanraj, why do you need my views? Like, there are people providing views. There are a lot of people, even Whited Junior giving their own. Uh, and we also did make a video, which was pretty like successful video. We did get a lot of traction on that. So maybe you can just go check that out. And yes, what are your guidelines on startup in? Exactly. An academy was also started as a YouTube channel, and as someone was asking like how which are the startups if you can convert a YouTube channel into a startup. So an academy is one of the biggest names I think to start from India, and starting as a YouTube channel 10 years ago and now becoming a $2 billion company is no less feat. So how could I start a autonomous driving software? Details about building a team. Autonomous driving software. Rakesh, please give me. I don't really understand your idea or your question completely. I'm thinking of making a startup for clothing similar to Jaffel and Sheen. Uh, sure, you can go ahead and start it. What is stopping you, Dibyajit? Best books for entrepreneurs. I really have to maybe find an answer for this question because I've been embarrassed a lot by this question. So I think I really need to ask someone and maybe start giving you guys some sort of suggestions for the kind of books that you should read being an entrepreneur. So hopefully the next time I come live, I will have an answer to this. More videos on business model for sure. We are looking at that. Does completing MBA after engineering be useful for starting a startup, or is it unnecessary and they won't change anything how we handle the startup journey? Arvind, again, this is another question that I answer in every single live stream that I do. So completing an MBA will be beneficial as well as not beneficial. Like it again, depends on the kind of person you are and the kind of startup that you are planning to do. If it is a proper textbook startup, if it is something that is very traditional, if so MBA does really give you an idea about the market. MBA does give you some sort of bookish knowledge about what is a company, how does a company function, what are the things that you need to do in order to uh, start a company. But apart from that, I think the best use of MBA is the kind of connections that you make. Whenever you are going into an MBA, not everyone is doing MBA just because their parents wants them to. A lot of people are really doing MBA because they are interested in the business world, because they have amazing ideas, because they have amazing business ideas that are working to work on, they're waiting to work on. So apart from like the education that you get a lot of connections, you get a lot of perspective, you meet a lot of people who might be really looking to just start up just like you. And that is one experience that a lot of people really do MBA for, and that is something which in true sense is the is the benefits of MBA. But apart from that, like again, depends on the kind of startup that you're starting up. A lot of people might be, might get benefited by the kind of exposure that MBA gives. But for a lot of people, if you really think that you are doing something unconventional, if you're doing something which is not traditional, which has not been done before, and you will have to take your decisions like on every single step. In that case, I don't really see how uh, MBA is useful. So again, like it completely depends on you, the kind of because again, doing MBA from a normal college in a a rural part of India compared to doing MBA from IIMs, there is a completely vast difference. So uh, I think, yeah, you are the best judge for this. You can make your decision, keeping all the factors in your mind. Naveen Naidu, we have already made a video on our journey and success story. I don't know if you want to call it a success story, but how did we meet, me and Caleb? How did Backstage Millennials come into existence? Please go to our channel and just search for that journey video, and you will get all the questions, all the answers that you have. Uh, is there future in logistics supply chain and e-commerce sector? Logistics supply chain is there are a lot of companies which are already working pretty good in that, and there is always a scope if you can do something with better technology, if you can do something with the better uh, uh, customer service, because logistics is one thing and e-commerce is one thing where customer support, your customer feedback is really matters a lot. So if you can really make sure that every single customer feedback is taken seriously, every single customer complaint is taken seriously, you can just be big in that. I'm new to this entrepreneurship. By the way, I want to know how to pitch your unique idea so no one can steal. So if you're pitching to people, there is something called NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that you can sign with the investors that you're reaching out to. You can sign in to the advisors that you're reaching out to, and they become legally liable not to share the details of your startup with anyone else till the time that deal is finalized, or till the time they are involved with your idea, or maybe never. It depends on the kind of agreement that you sign with them. But yes, you can reach out to these people and you can ask them to sign a contract or sign that NDA agreement, and then you can just discuss your idea with them, and I'm sure it won't get stolen. I'm a third year computer science student, IG Shadow, and I have a startup idea, but I don't know how I start working on it. Again, like, what is your startup about? If you can give me a little bit more detail, maybe I can give you a little bit more feedback, and maybe tell you anything from my own personal experience. Rajat, money matters in everything. Uh, does money matter in a startup? For sure. Like, you cannot start a startup without any money. Some startups might need more, more money, and some startups might need less money. But every single startup does need money. If in this case, divide WhatsApp groups into A, B, C, D, E. How would you describe the supply chain and logistics in India dealing with vegetables and fruit? I'm quite interested in starting a startup, something related to that. How would you describe the supply chain and logistics in India dealing in vegetables and fruit? Like, what do you, Aditya, I'm pretty sure, like, I know a lot of these unions, the truck unions which are there, they work in these things, but I don't know if there is any startup, any logistics startup which has looked at that particular thing in that sort of detail, that they only want to um, look at logistics for fruits and vegetables. But I think you can, if you can implement some sort of technology, if you think you can implement some sort of tracking and some sort of like, how you really can implement technology and make those things, those process better for these truck drivers and also for the farmers. I'm sure you can do something good in that, but just make sure that no one else is doing it before you start doing it. uh, Telegram group for Backstage Millennials will be great. uh, we are we actually just started on Discord, and right now we are trying to make sure that our Discord community becomes very active for great discussions. So Telegram or WhatsApp are not really in the plans right now, but if you really want to involve into great startup discussions, I would really expect, or I would really suggest you to just go and join our Discord server, and we can talk about startups more there. Is it ideal to re-implement a failed startup by altering your own innovation in it? Aryan, for sure. Like, it really depends. Like, if you can really make sure, if you can really figure out that what went wrong in that failed startup that you're talking about, if you really think what were the things that those people should not have done that they did, and that's why the startup failed. So if you can really work on a failed startup, if you really think you can sort of replicate a failed startup with fixing all the bad things that they did, uh, yeah, you can certainly make that work. Can you build $10 billion unicorn startup without funding? I'm pretty sure Zerodha is on the way to become a pretty good company, pretty big company. Joho is another company which is right there. They have no, both of them. I think they have not raised funds and they are already unicorns. But you can certainly become a $10 billion unicorn without funding. Dinesh Kaviraj, what happens to the money invested on a startup if this fails? Will the startup CEO have to pay back all the money? No. So starting like investment in a startup is just like taking a gamble. Not every single startup is successful, and investors very well know that. That they if they're investing money in let's say 100 startups, 90 of them will fail, or maybe at least 70 of them will fail. 20% will just give you the money back, and 10 or maybe at least just 5 startups will give you like multifold returns. So these people already calculate their risk and they already know the kind of chances that they have when they are starting a startup, and sorry, when they are investing in a startup. So no, the CEO does not have to pay him from his pockets. It is just like a gamble. If a startup runs, then you can get 10x of or 20x or 50x of your money. If it fails, then your money is gone. What is your profit margin for your own startups? There is no profit. Like profit only happens when you're selling something. What can we learn? Your videos are inspirable for young entrepreneurs. Good initiative, guys. Thank you very much, Shesh Ratnam. I'm so sorry about that background noise. Should we even look out for technical co-founder or hire one? If you can pay salaries, because technical co-founders are usually costly, they usually expect a big salary and big sort of initiate incentives when they are just joining your company. So if you really think that you can pay them salary, if you really think you can hire a CTO, or you can hire a developer from day one, then for sure go for hiring one. And if you really think that you need to give some sort of ownership, some sense of responsibilities and ownership to the person, then it does really make sense to have him as a co-founder. Okay, so I think I'm almost already 1 hour and 15 minutes into the live stream. I will be taking a few more questions which were sent to me before 9 p.m. From where does Backstage with Millennials get all these information? Do you have people who help you out with research? If yes, how can someone write wanting to do so contact you? What Chirag? Yes, we do have. So Varun basically is heading our content and research team. So right now, I think we are also looking to hire some interns in that. And if you are someone who is interested in writing and researching, so please reach out to us at backstagewithmillennials@gmail.com. And yeah, that's the only way to reach out to us as of today. Toughest part as a startup founder, what can we learn? Toughest part as a startup founder is just to be the founder. I think because every single thing is tough. Depends on like how you really take the challenges. If you like taking challenges, then things can be really, really good for you. If you really think that you get demotivated very easily, then everything can be so bad for you. Shuddeep, have Chinese investors resumed investing in India? They have, like, it never stopped. First of all, the only thing that had happened was the Indian government had put another formality that every single time that a Chinese company is investing in India, they will have to take approval from the Indian government. So the Chinese investments had never stopped. It was only that they were put under scrutiny by the government of India, and they are still happening. There are Chinese companies which are investing in Indian companies, And as I said, like, there was never a stop, full stop on that. Your Whitehead Junior video was really insightful, though it should have got way more attention. I don't know what is wrong there. People need to be aware of this startup. Thank you very much, Aditya. And uh, yes, we did Caleb and Vansh and Ayush, the interns that we have who are editing our videos. They really did amazing to work on that video and make sure that three videos were published onto our channel yesterday. And yes, the expectations are higher. We also thought that would do amazing, but again, like, we are not disappointed with anything that it did. And because we know we can always capitalize on the kind of traction that we are expecting. How is the beverage industry? Is it responsible? Is it possible for a new player with limited resources to enter the market? If yes, how do you find distribution challenge? And is it wise to outsource packaging? Safely, I think Paperboat can be an amazing case study for you. Paperboat was just started last, I think, 4 5 years ago, and they are a big brand already. Apart from Paperboat, I think, yeah, in beverage industry, I think Bira 91, like that also had just started, and it has raised investment from some amazing big firms. So what sort of beverage are you talking about? Are you talking about an alcohol based beverage? Are you talking about something like uh, Paperboat? Uh, it certainly has, like, I think you should really go and check out the success story of these two startups, and you will get your answers, whatever you have. Why don't you guys start a startup? Is BwM your startup? How do you guys make money? Ayush, so right now we only make money through whatever YouTube ads that we have. You can consider Backstage with Millennials as a startup, and you will see a lot more things associated with Backstage with Millennials in the coming days. So I would like to assume that it is a startup, and I would like to assume that it does well in the coming days. Cybersecurity startups are already booming. Rupesh Roshan. Jaidul Islam, any suggestion for trading in FMCG? Like, what do you mean trading in FMCG? Okay, so something that I really wanted to answer. Raj is asking, what type of questions do I expect from people in the live Q&A? So Raj, the kind of questions I don't really expect anything specific. Let's say you are starting a startup. Let's say you are someone who is just reading about a startup, and if you have any sort of queries about it. Let's say you are starting a startup and you are just like, okay, this is my startup in fintech industry. How do I reach out to people? How do I market my product? This is my product in agri-tech startups, agri-tech space. How do I reach out to more farmers? How do I build something on this? Or if you are just a student, you should not have, you might not even be an entrepreneur. In that case, you might just have some sort of thing that, okay, I really have an idea about this kind of startup. So I am not sure, like, I never claim that I will answer every single question which is being posted to me, but I would like to assume that I have fair amount of experience working with the startup industry, building communities, and I think I can provide some sort of insights, even if I cannot completely answer your question. And that is the reason, that is the kind of questions I expect from people on my live whenever I'm doing that. With it, I saw countries with most unicorns this year. India ranks third after US and China, but there's a lot of difference between India and the other two. Your opinion on this? So for sure, like, India has never been, and obviously talking about a unicorn, you do not become a unicorn in a day, in a month, or in a year. I think it at least takes you uh, 3 to 5 years, or even 7 to 10 years to actually build a unicorn. So a lot of companies which were starting in India, which had started in India in at least, let's say, 2015, 16, and 2016 was the actual time when, I think 2016 was the time when the government of India launched the Startup India mission. So all the startups which were started around that or after that, you would see a lot of these startups becoming unicorn in the coming days. So talking about US and China, we are talking, like, do a little bit of research about the average time spent for a company to become a unicorn. You will find that there is at least 6 to 8 years of time spent. And talking about that, like, as I said, we will see a lot of these unicorns coming from India in a couple of years from now, and by 2025 or 2030, I am hopeful that India will become the country with the most number of unicorns in that particular year. Shreyas, what recommendation are you giving? Why do Thank you very much, Parthib, Parthib Ghosh, for your good words. And I think we are almost at around 9:30. If we, oh yeah, shit. Okay, so we are at around 9:30, and I think this is the cutoff time. I will just not be taking any more questions because we have already extended our live by more than 20 minutes. So thank you very much, anyone, whoever reached out to us. If there is anything that you want to ask us specifically, please write in the comment box of any video that we have made, or you can, if there is something that you think you have specific for us, please feel free to uh, write us an email at backstagewithmillennials@gmail.com, or you can also reach out to us on Instagram at backstagewithmillennials. And I will see you on Friday. There is an amazing Q&A session with one of my mentors, Mr. Ashish Tulsian. He has been a prolific angel investor in companies like Unacademy, in companies like Pesto, in companies, a lot of companies he has invested in, I think more than 25, 30 companies. And he has also built a startup which is one of the biggest POS, point of sale software provider for restaurants in the entire world. So I'm really excited for that session. I will see you guys on Friday at 8 p.m. And till then, take care, and thank you very much for turning up for today's live stream.